Well, I'm joined now from Aberdeen by Scotland's First Minister, Alex Salmond. Mr Salmond, you obviously heard Senator Menendez there appealing to you to get Kenny McCaskill and the Scottish doctor involved, Andrew Fraser, to cooperate. Will you be prepared to do that?
Well, we are cooperating with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Indeed, its chairman, its normal chairman, John Kerry, has described our responses as thoughtful and thorough, and we've answered all questions that Senator Menendez has sent to us, with the sole exception of his request to release American government documents, which we can't release because the American government haven't given us permission. So we have cooperated with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
But not satisfactorily in his view, as you've heard, to the point where he's willing to send people over here.
Well, two things. One is I don't think there's a recorded case in history of serving an American secretary going to another jurisdiction to give evidence to a committee of another parliament. That applies to the Chilcot Committee, it applies to coroner's inquests in England, it applies to extraordinary rendition and all of the other controversies the United States of America have been involved in. I mean, you shouldn't ask other people to do things that your own government would never dream of in history. And there's an important point of principle here, Gavin. I'm First Minister of Scotland. My ministers, my officials, are responsible to the Parliament and people of Scotland. They're not, with enormous respect to Senator Menendez, responsible to the American Senate.
Indeed. However, if he is prepared to send people, as he puts it, individuals to come over here to attempt to talk to you or to talk to Kenny McCaskill or anyone else involved, would you be prepared at least to cooperate to that extent, having made clear that you are cooperating as much as you can? Well,
it depends what you're talking about. I mean, if American Senator Menendez wants to come to Scotland, or I'm sure it would be the same case in London, then the chances are we'd extend the courtesy of a meeting. We do that all the time. It's only a few weeks, or months at least, since Kenny McCaskill, as Justice Secretary, met a dozen US congressmen on this subject at the request of the American Consul General in Scotland. So this sort of thing happens all the time. But there's no way on earth that the Senate Foreign Relations Committee is going to hold a hearing in London or in Scotland.
Indeed, but it's not a matter of principle then, it's a matter of geography. If they're not prepared to fly over here and talk to you, you're happy to talk to them, but you're not prepared to fly over there to talk to them.
Well, you should have listened to the end of my point, Gavin. I'm pointing out there's no way that the Senate Foreign Relations Committee is going to have a hearing in London or Scotland. See, it's not a matter for a serving minister of it being inconvenient to fly to America. That's not the point at all. It's a point of principle that you're not responsible to the committee of another parliament, and that would apply regardless of where that committee was meeting. Having meetings, courtesy meetings with senators and congressmen is a matter of politeness, which you do to friendly people all of the time, as I would do if I were in America and would extend the same courtesy to Senator Menendez. But that is not the same thing as giving evidence to the committee of another parliament.
You made that perfectly clear, but you also understand from Senator Menendez's position, as he said, 189 Americans dead. The hurt is real. It's still there. You would like an independent Scotland. You would like very good relations with the United States, particularly those 40 million or so who claim some kind of Scottish descent. This one case may have blown it.
Oh, I think that's just such nonsense, Gavin. We have good relationships with the United States. The one thing I'd say about what Senator Menendez said about that, I've got enormous respect, and for the last 20 years, incidentally, when this case has been under Scottish jurisdiction, through painstaking investigation, through devoting the whole capacity of the Scottish legal system to try and achieve justice, we've had enormous respect for all of the Lockerbie relatives. That's almost 300, incidentally, from 21 different nationalities, including the Scots who died in the ground in Lockerbie. We understand the hurt, the grief, the anguish of all of these people. But of course, what Senator Menendez sometimes doesn't understand that not all of the Lockerbie victims, and the relatives are victims, have the same opinion. It's certainly true that the majority, although not all, of the American relatives disagree with the decision that the Scottish Government took. It's also true that the majority, although not all, of the UK victims' families agree with the decision on compassionate release. So people have different opinions, and you must try and respect all of these opinions.
Indeed, but BP wanted drilling in Libya. Libya wanted Megrahi. You release Megrahi. BP gets drilling rights. There was some lobbying by the Libyan British Business Council, of which BP is a part. You can understand why American senators, meaning no disrespect to the Scottish or British governments, think there's something deeply fishy about this.
Well, let me answer in two parts. Firstly, let me dismiss this nonsense about Lord Trefgarden, it is, a Conservative Party peer, who was one of 1,000 representations in writing to the Scottish Government, including many from the United States of America, he was immediately replied to, as Senator Menendez should know but didn't tell you, by Kenny MacAskill as Justice Secretary, saying, look, commercial considerations will have no part in our decision. It'll be made on judicial grounds alone. That is the distinction that the Scottish Government have always made in this case. And of course, our opposition to the prisoner transfer agreement, to the deal in the desert, and you saw one of Tony Blair's advisors on, you should have got maybe the ones who were actually in the tent with Mr Blair, and maybe Senator Menendez should be asking Mr Blair or Colonel Gaddafi to tell him what exactly went on. But we opposed the prisoner transfer agreement from the 7th of June 2007, when I exposed it to the world in a statement of the Scottish Parliament. And you know something, Gavin, when I did that in 2007, there was a deathly silence from Mr Cameron in the opposition benches in the House of Commons, and there was no interest at all from American senators. So our opposition to the prisoner transfer agreement, partly because it was signed on the same day as a commercial transaction between BP and Libya, has been consistent over the last 3 years. And there are few, if any, other people in this entire planet who can make that claim.
First Minister, thank you very much. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you.
A great pleasure. Thank you.
Now, welfare is such a big slice of